thank the distinguished representative of Belgium for his statement and the kind words addressed to the chair. Distinguished delegates, the delegation of the United States has requested the floor to exercise its right of reply pursuant to Rule 19 of the Rules of Procedure of the 2015 Review Conference, which apply mutatis mutandis to this preparatory committee. May I remind delegations that in accordance with Rule 19, such statements shall be as brief as possible. I urge delegations to limit their interventions to 5 minutes. May I also remind delegations that in accordance with established practice, the number of interventions in the exercise of the right of reply for any delegation is limited to 2. The second intervention should be limited to 2 minutes. I now give the floor to the United States.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm taking the floor to exercise my right of reply to respond to comments that were made earlier today by the representatives of Iran and Russia. First, with regard to Iran, JCPOA was mentioned. And let me be clear once again. President Trump ended U.S. participation in the JCPOA because it failed to ensure the safety of the American people. Far from solving the proliferation threat presented by Iran's nuclear capabilities, the JCPOA merely temporized, even while legitimizing Iran's continued possession of fissile material production capacity it had secretly acquired in connection with its nuclear weapons work, seemingly forgiving Iran's prior nuclear weapons program and giving Iran permission to expand its capabilities enormously in just a few years' time. Under the circumstances, the President did not believe it was in our national security interests to continue to provide sanctions relief to the Iranian regime while its threats continued to grow. We are now working with our international partners to bring maximum pressure on Iran to achieve a new deal that comprehensively addresses the full range of threats posed by Iran, including its destabilizing regional activities, its development and proliferation of ballistic missiles, and its nuclear program. Iran accused the U.S. of being in noncompliance with Article 6. That charge is simply ridiculous. Iran needs to take another read of Article 6. The U.S. has reduced its nuclear stockpile by roughly 88% since the height of the Cold War. Let me say it is Iran that has a history of noncompliance. It is Iran that has in the past been engaged in an illicit pursuit of nuclear weapons. I might also add that serious questions have been raised by the discovery of Iran's secret nuclear archive. This is why thorough IAEA verification and monitoring remain essential. We call on all parties to support the IAEA's critical role in verifying Iran's implementation of its nuclear-related obligations and commitments. Iran must fully cooperate with the IAEA, including by providing timely and unqualified access to any location requested by the IAEA. It is only through such cooperation that international confidence can be established and maintained in support of a diplomatic resolution to international concerns about Iran's nuclear program. As we look toward a new and comprehensive deal, Iran must also stop denying and concealing the reality of its past nuclear weapons work and honestly address why it retained an immense archive of files from its past nuclear weapons activities. Outstanding questions regarding Iran's past nuclear weapons program must be addressed in a clear and straightforward manner as they continue to have bearing on current questions about the possibility of undeclared nuclear material and activities in Iran. With regard to Russia, on the ABM treaty, back in 2002, the United States exercised its right under the treaty to leave the treaty in order to deal with dangerous and expanding ballistic missile threats in regional theaters. We've made that point over and over again in various fora. Russia also referenced the INF treaty. And let me remind everyone, since 2014, the United States has assessed that Russia violated its obligations under the INF treaty. This has been the determination of the Trump administration as well as the Obama administration. On February 2 this year, the United States suspended its obligations under the treaty as a remedy for Russia's material breach and provided 6-month written notice to the INF treaty parties of U.S. withdrawal as a result of Russia's long-standing violation and failure to return to compliance. During this period of suspension, the United States and other states party are relieved of performing their obligations under the INF Treaty. Now, Russia can still save the treaty by returning to full and verifiable compliance, which we have been clear requires verifiable destruction of all SSC-8 missiles, associated launchers, and support equipment. However, if Russia fails to do so before August 2, our decision to withdraw will stand and the treaty will terminate. Russian actions have led to the demise of the INF Treaty. It is Russia that developed, flight tested, and then began producing and has continued to field multiple battalions of a system in violation of its obligations, while the United States did not. Russia will bear sole responsibility for the end of the treaty. Just a few words with regard to the Middle East weapons of mass destruction free zone issue. The United States continues to support the long-term goal of a Middle East free of weapons of mass destruction and delivery systems alongside a comprehensive and durable regional peace. We remain committed to supporting the regional states as they pursue practical steps and direct dialogue aimed at building trust and addressing the political and security obstacles that have long impeded progress on such a zone. We are convinced, however, that such a dialogue must be pursued voluntarily on the basis of arrangements fully agreed upon by all regional states, consistent with international practice. We deeply regret the UN General Assembly's adoption in a divided vote of a decision requesting that the UN Secretary General convene a conference in 2019 on the establishment of a Middle East weapons of mass destruction free zone based on terms and modalities that did not have consensus support among all the regional states. By seeking to use a multilateral forum to coerce progress over the objection of other regional states, the co-sponsors of this decision have only succeeded in creating an expensive UN-led process that effectively precludes the possibility of participation by all the regional states. In the sake of time, Mr. Chairman, I will end my intervention here. Thank you.
Thank you. I urge delegations to limit their interventions to 5 minutes. The delegations of the Netherlands has requested the floor to exercise its rights of reply pursuant to Rule 19. I now give the floor to the Netherlands.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In our right of reply, I'd like to make a statement on behalf of the NATO member countries, Albania, Belgium, Bulgaria, Canada, Croatia, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg,